Welcome to another episode of Ethekwini Matters podcast. I'm your host, Simpiwe Lamini, and today we are diving into a topic that affects every road user in our city. We are talking traffic data. Within Ethekwini Transport Authority, there is a vital branch called road safety. One of its key responsibilities is the collection and management of traffic and crash data. This data is not just numbers. It is the backbone of how ETA makes informed decisions across enforcement, education, and engineering. From planning safer intersections to launching awareness campaigns, it starts with understanding this data. Joining us today is Ngidi, who is Manager of Road Safety at ETA. She'll be shedding light on how this data is gathered, what it reveals, and how it shapes the way we move through Ethekwini. Pindi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sebalkhulu, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Siyabonga. Now, please tell us about the responsibilities of your branch or your department.
As you have mentioned that we are a branch within Ethekwini Transport Authority, our branch is specifically responsible for a number of responsibilities and activities. The main one is the collection of traffic and crash data, the storage of traffic and crash data, the management and also uploading it into the system where we capture this data from the raw manner into our database system. We're also responsible for managing our road awareness campaigns. We're also responsible for the selling of this data because we sell it even to other third party and other stakeholders who might need it for their own development and own interventions. And we're also responsible for the commemoration of different transport and road safety themes, road safety celebrations. That's mainly in a nutshell what we do as a branch.
Yeah, maybe for someone at home watching to understand better, what is the difference between traffic and crash data?
Oh yeah, the difference between crash data and traffic data. I will start with traffic data.
Yeah.
Traffic data, as the name implies, it's the data that you get from the traffic. So in other words, it's the road data that you need to collect at a primary source. You need to be at the road. That is data like our traffic volumes and our traffic counts. For instance, we want to know how many vehicles we have in the city, how many vehicles are passing a certain point. And also it's the vehicle, it's the data that we need to get if we want to know maybe the vehicle occupancy, how many people are in a vehicle, the usage of seat belts, the usage of cell phones. That's all the data that is raw that we collect on the road. That is the data that we need that assists us mainly in our planning interventions. And we call that traffic data. And then there's the data that we call is crash data. Crash is a word now that is used for accident. We're no longer using accident as the word we've adopted crash. So crash data is the data that we collect from crash. As the name implies, if one is involved in a crash, they go and fill in an AR form. So that's the data that we collect from the police stations within Ethekwini. And we get that information from the forms that they've collected. We're able to extract the data that we can use and we put it on our system for our future engagements and future usage.
So I suppose you have a team that you're working with. If you don't mind to tell us how many are they and how often do you collect this data?
Yes, we've got a staff complement of 27. Yes, 27. Mainly we have what we call admin staff or accident coders, and we have a designated driver that goes out every day to these 52 police stations. So there's a roster that the driver is given and she goes out to the police stations, collects. The frequency varies because the number of the forms that we get is different. We've got big stations like Durban Metro or Durban CBD, Umlazo, Pinetown, where the driver has to go twice a week, so the frequency is different. And then on smaller stations like Honchanga or Tabega, they go once a week to collect this data. So when they collect this data comes to us. Firstly, it is scanned so that we have a soft copy of the crash. Then after that, the hard copy then goes to the next stage, which is capturing. They capture this data because, as we're saying, it's on the form. Or from the form, then we need to put it on our database. We call it Data Suite. And I must say it's one of the best in South Africa.
Okay.
It's Durban and then followed by Cape Town.
Okay.
Then we keep it on the Data Suite so that all the information that we need, it will be easier to manipulate, to arrange the data in a certain way that would be readily available, ready for use as it is needed by different departments. As you mentioned earlier in your intro, that we need this data in also to plan all our activations.
Okay, maybe let's expand on that point. Now you have
Yes.
collected this data.
Yes.
What do you use it for?
This data, we use it for various things. As I've mentioned, when we're talking about traffic data, for instance, let's say there's a new development that they want to do. Maybe there's a new shopping mall, or there's a school, or there's a restaurant. They will need that data, because when you have a restaurant on an already existing road, it means that the number of vehicles that you will have will be different, as you will now have patrons that will be accessing this establishment. So we need to have those traffic volumes, those traffic counts, so that should there be any arrangements that need to be done on the road, some engineering measures that need to be done, will need to be done, so that you can accommodate your pedestrian walking. Maybe you also need to increase the width, and also you need to increase the number of lanes. So those are all the interventions that you need. And also for the general maintenance of our roads and understanding, because without understanding the traffic that we have in Ethekwini, it's impossible and difficult to plan, because budget is also involved. So we also have something like coordinate screen lines, which are our routine traffic data collection that we do, where we go to the entrance points within Ethekwini, we collect the data. We look also at the journey times, how much it takes for one individual to travel. Also look at the vehicle occupancy, all those things, so that they can assist us in driving different interventions. And then when we're talking about crash data, crash data enables us to understand the various points in Ethekwini, which we flag them as high risk. The points where you see that from the capturing of data, this point or this intersection keeps on coming now and again. So there needs to be some engagements, there's some interventions. And we have what we call, it's a road safety audit, which is also one of our responsibilities. Yeah. We have a road safety audit and road safety assessment, where different officials within Ethekwini, we have your engineering, you have your installation and works, you have your urban control, which are people dealing with traffic lights. They go out into that site that has been identified as a high crash. They look at investigation, they investigate what can be the main reason for the crash, and what are the things that we can do as Ethekwini to make the site or to make that location safer. Then we write a report, and then it's sent to different branches within Ethekwini, so that we can implement and try to make that safer. It does not only necessarily involve Ethekwini ETA only, because sometimes it can be a simple thing, as trimming of the branches, as the moving of the bin from DSW. So once that report is done, then it's disseminated to other departments, and then a follow-up is made to see whether those things have been implemented. Of course, it depends on the budget as well, because after some time, after the implementation, we also need to go on site and do an after study to see, has there been any impact, because it will be easy to see the impact, because when we're collecting these forms, they will say that the number of crashes has decreased, and then we'll be able to manage or to evaluate the progress that we have done, and also to monitor the changes that have been made, and whether to see that the implementation or the engagements that have been done have been successful.
So we normally see public process, members of community process who say they need speed calming, what we call speed humps,
yes,
in a certain area. So which data do you use to determine if an area is suitable for speed humps? Do you use crash data or you use traffic data?
We can use both.
Okay.
We can use both, because there's a policy. We cannot just install speed humps and traffic calmings anywhere. There's a policy that guides our interventions. For instance, we have a classification of roads. We have like our class 1 and class 2 roads. Those are your highways and your freeways. Those roads are mainly designed for speed and access. So you cannot put a speed hump. So even when we come to other roads, like our local roads and our access roads, there are roads where we cannot put a speed hump, because that will be minimizing or decreasing the main function of the road. So there are certain measures or certain policy requirements that we need to adhere to. We cannot just install anywhere. But if it warrants a traffic calming, and that's why we have this team that goes out for the assessment. If we see that the road warrants a traffic calming, it can be a speed hump, it can be a rubble strips, whatever it is, then it is done depending on the available budget.
You've just mentioned different types of speed calming or speed humps. Can you just take us through them and which one goes where and how people can actually apply for that, or don't have to apply as members of the community? You guys will then determine which one is suitable for which area.
No. Besides the assessments that we go when we go out, we also rely on the information from the public, especially local leadership like our councillors.
Yes.
Sometimes you find that the notifications come to us through a very tragic incident. If maybe there has been a fatality or someone has been seriously ill, then those incidents come to us. So if we're talking about speed calming, you are calming. In other words, you are trying to adjust the speed, as I said.
Yeah.
You are adjusting the speeds because that road, maybe it's near the school or it's near one of the major land use that is used often. So we are calming it. And ama rubble strips, where you find ama rubble strips, it's normally as for a warning. Maybe let's say there's a T junction or something where you easily need to turn, then those are warning you that you should warn up, you should wake up. There might be changes on the road, whether it's a road gradient or with the road direction. Those are mainly for the warning.
I see. No, thank you for that. Now let's come back to crash data.
Yes.
You mentioned that it is collected through the accident forms that we normally fill up at the police station. So in most cases, we find that we normally fill those forms wrong. And then what impact does that have in your data collection?
Oh, that's one of our major challenges, because as I've said, that the form it's a manual form, it's the actual paper where you fill in your crash details. And then when it comes to us, we need to take this data from a form and put it in a system. Firstly, the main challenge is incomplete data.
Yeah.
There are people who don't put the details. Sometimes they don't put their ID numbers. And the latest one that we have seen with the change of the license plates, many people don't know their new license plates. You will find that when it comes to the license plates,
it took me 2 weeks.
I can imagine. You'll find someone saying X, Y, and then they don't include the numbers. And now it will require a lot of effort and time on our side, because we need to call, because we're trying to make sure that our data is as accurate as possible. So our staff will have to call. You've filled in these details. There's something that is not there. Also the location.
Yeah.
Most people don't include the location. We know that some of our roads, especially in the townships, don't have exact location. But please try to be as precise as you can. Maybe close to Kwamkulu container, close to a school, maybe 5 meters away from the intersection. Try to be precise so that we can be able to know the exact location, so that when the interventions are planned, they are directed to the exact spot.
I see. So, and then let's say one is involved in a crash or an accident. What is it? The thing that I need to know when I'm involved in that kind of
In a crash.
in a crash, so that when I fill that form, then I fill it completely.
Yes. Being involved in a crash is quite traumatic. Traumatic. Anyone who is involved in a crash can bear witness to that. But besides the trauma that you have experienced, you need to calm down and make sure that you understand, firstly, your location. Where are you?
Yeah.
The time. What is the time? Because time plays a bigger role as well. And also, you need to have all your details, your ID numbers, your license numbers, your license plate numbers, as I've mentioned that we have a challenge in there. You also you need to know all those details. And also, if you had a passenger, you need to fill in the details of the passengers as well. You also need to fill in the details of the third party. Let's say maybe it was a crash involving one or more vehicles. You also need to have those details. Although we know that at times it can be difficult to get that because, as I've said, there's trauma involved. You might find that someone is being agitated, someone is not responsive, or someone might be a knock in a driveway, a hit and run. So it might be difficult to get some of those details. But you must try to your best ability to also get the third party details. So those are the details that we need. Those are the details that assist us. The type, the make of the vehicle, the year, all those things are things that are important that we need when we're capturing this data.
Yeah, no, I see. When it comes to crashes or accident, do we need to report every accident? Because it can be a fender bender. You know, you're like, ah, man, I can fix this thing. You know, do you have to report everything? Is it necessary to report everything?
It's beneficial for us, as I've mentioned, that from these crash accident reports, we're able to get our crash data. So even if it's fender bender, we would advise you to report it because that's a statistics that we need. That's it, so that there won't be many gaps in our statistics. Our statistics is as accurate as possible. Let me relay some of the challenges of not reporting all the crash. You find that maybe a community member, even community leadership, would come and request a speed hump, as we have said. And they've said, at this intersection or at this section of road, we've got numerous crashes that have happened. Maybe there's been 10 in the last 6 months, or there's been 15 in the last month. But when we go to our records are not indicating that, which means that all the fender benders, they have not been reported because I'm going to fix it. There has been no injuries. So that's why we say it's ideal for us not only to direct our intervention, but so as to ensure that the stats that we have is accurate. Therefore, we recommend that all crashes need to be reported.
Do I need to move at that point where I had a crash in order to allow for traffic, or must I just be stationed there and wait for Metropolis or the police for that? Because some people are very stubborn. When you find that there's an accident in the morning, it's not that very serious. They can move on the side, but they will tell you, no. The law says I must not move up until the police gets here. So, yeah.
It will depend on the nature and the severity of the crash.
Yeah.
Of course, if the car is movable and you are both safe, nobody is injured, then it's easy to move. You can move on to the side so that you can be able to exchange the details. Let's say that there are no law enforcement officers.
Yeah.
You can be able to exchange the details and get all the information that I've mentioned earlier that will be crucial for you when you're going to the police station to report the case. Sometimes you'll find that you are lucky it happens in a stone throw from a police station. Then the police come, or the law enforcement come, and then they take all the details. Then it's easier because they advise you to move. So, but if there is an injury, we advise you not to move. Because when you move, you're trying to move someone that is injured, there might be further complications which were borne by the injury. So it depends solely on the nature and the level of severity of the crash that has happened, or the level of injury that has happened.
October is known as Transport Month, and in kicking off Transport Month, the mayor launched the Public Transport Information Center. But from your side now, from the Road Safety Division, can you tell us more about the activities or plans that you have for this month?
Yes, we've got numerous activities. Some have already been conducted. Some we're still going to conduct. We've got community engagements. We've had a community engagement at Nanda, where we invited the community to tell us about our services and mostly to tell them about the stats. What are the things that concern us as a road safety branch when it pertains to Uganda? We have another one planned for Umlazi on the 22nd next week. We also had a road safety awareness walk within the CBD, where we wanted to be seen as well advocating road safety. We were telling people about the importance of road safety, the things that they need to look for, and how can they ensure that they are road users who are responsible and road users who ensure that our city is not only safe, but our city is also resilient when it comes to crashes and all other the interventions that can happen on the road. We also have a launch tomorrow at Lamontville. This will be a launch of a junior traffic training center, the junior traffic training center. It's basically a courtyard that has been turned into a road, a live road. It's a live road simulator where the foundation phase learners will be able to be trained when using this road, because some of the learners have never even been to town. They've never seen a zebra crossing. They don't know how to use traffic lights. So that will be a launch of that at Ethekwini Primary School, and in assistance with road safety. We got a funding from road safety, so they're assisting so that we will be launching that. So those are mainly the highlights: pedestrian awareness and all the motorist awareness, where we go to the toll roads, to the toll gates, where we do various awareness campaigns. But those are mainly the highlights that we're doing this year for Transport Month.
Yeah, still on awareness, we have seen the conversion of Shefton Road from a one-way to a two-way. Can you speak to us about that as well? What informed that decision?
That is purely an engineering decision. And I believe that the Go Durban, because it's the project that is handling all the interventions and all the things that are happening, will be a better place to explain that, because for Go Durban, there's a number of corridors that are planned. So there are plans, that plan is being conducted in various stages. So that stages, which I think it might be part, but the Go Durban office, as the project office handling that, will be in a better position to answer that.
Okay. So I want to find out more information about your office. How do we get hold of you?
Our office was located at number 30 Old Fort Place, which is now called Achigumede Place, on the second floor. We're also responsible for the selling of crash data should it happen that we're involved in a crash, maybe 10 years ago or 5 years ago, and you do not know the details of the crash. As long as the crash was reported, you have a ID number, and you also have the details of the crash number. Then you can go to our offices at a very, very reasonable price of 140. You can get the form. And you can also find us on email. You can also find us on the Ethekwini website, where you can be able to access this form. And also, if you're needing a traffic count, because we also have summer students, we assist students who are doing research, engineering students, and they need some traffic counts, they come to our offices. For students, it's free because we're assisting. But if it's a third party, maybe it's a company, or it's a business, or it's the developers, then there is a charge of one for the traffic counts.
So you just provide data, you don't provide footage, because someone will come and say, I want footage of this thing.
Unfortunately, we don't provide footage. We provide data because we get it from the forms. Yeah.
Well, Pindi, thank you so much for coming through.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's cool.
Well, that's all we had for you this week. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe on our page. Have a good evening.